Good win. Obviously, continue to build on some offensive production and development as we get more continuity with our team. So felt really good about the way the ball moved today. I thought that was probably the best thing we did. We talked about being able to get the ball from side to side and play inside out. Very conscious about throwing the ball inside to our bigs early, seeing if we could find some three-point shots from there. I thought Marsh and Garrison showed some aggression and posting up early. But then, can't say enough about what Javons Small brings in terms of his ability to make the game easy for his teammates. And so I think it's 2 games now without a turnover. And so a guy who's going to primarily handle the ball for you, it's a pretty good place to start.
The bench had 42 points today. I mean, what was working so well for those guys and the mindset there?
I mean, I just think, so for the first 4 games, we started a different lineup each game. And basketball is such a flow game, such a rhythm game that you really need to get settled in, not necessarily whether you're starting or not, but when you're going to be playing, who you're going to be out there with, what the rotations are looking like. And we're not all the way there, especially with Bryce not being with us, but we're getting closer to having some more continuity. And I think that's part of what happens is naturally guys get more comfortable with, all right, I'm the first sub, I'm coming in at this moment for this guy. In a normal circumstance, a foul trouble situation can change that. But I think that's a part of it.
Does Javon's style remind you of anybody? He does some kind of unorthodox things.
I think I've said this before. He really does remind me of Juwan. And that they're not like elite athletes. They're good enough athletes. And so they can get by you, but they're really strong. They both have kind of different kind of finishes around the basket. I think Javon probably shoots it a little more clean than Juwan did. Juwan probably finished better, probably had a better floater, runner. But that's who immediately comes to my mind in terms of the style of play.
You guys, at this point last year, had 89 assists, 89 turnovers. I had it written down somewhere. You're at a lot more assists right now, fewer turnovers. Is this kind of what you envisioned this kind of refresh looking like as far as the roster goes and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, you guys been here. I mean, I talked about it very openly about that being an issue. I mean, if we could make free throws consistently, it's kind of the next thing that we got to get figured out offensively. But everything else is trending the right direction to put ourselves in position to have a chance to win. Because when you don't turn the ball over, especially when a team has the ability to make 12 threes, right, you give yourself more opportunities to make shots. And so not turning the ball over was a big emphasis. That's why we talked about when we recruited Javon. We look up and we see a guy get 100 assists in 18 games, half the season. And, that was a big thing for us as we recruited him and helped him understand how he could factor in helping us take a step forward with this team.
Have you liked where your freshmen, where they've come, I guess, to this point in the year?
All different. And it's probably going to continue to change because it's very hard for a freshman to get through 30 games and play this way the whole time, right? So early on, Justin McBride was making a lot of fast progress. He's kind of slowed down a little bit. Garrison has gotten better over the last probably week and a half. And I think part of it was by fire, he had to play like 35 minutes against Notre Dame because Mike was out. And I think getting out there and just seeing it and taking some blows and feeling like, oh, I'm okay, I can do this. It just gave him some more affirmation. So I don't know if I want to give an answer that they're all making the same progress. You can see Keller's obviously really comfortable already. There's eventually going to be a time where he regresses a little bit, right? We just hope that it's in the moment that we can absorb it with John Michael and Bryce back and Javon, that we don't have to have those guys winning games for us because that's not necessarily what their responsibility is yet. Their responsibility is to make sure that, whatever stretch of the game that they're in, they don't lose it. And they don't need to play like they're losing the game, but we can't have 4 turnovers in 5 possessions or not get 3 stops in a row ever while they're in there. It's just about playing with confidence and understanding that, they have specific roles that they got to play. Most importantly, bring energy, do little things defensively, rebound the basketball, make a shot or 2 when you're open, but can't turn it over, can't make bad fouls, can't be out of position on defense.
Give any updates on Bryce and Isaiah going into next week?
So Bryce was limited in practice yesterday, which was progress because he hadn't practiced at all prior to that. I think as we get through the weekend, we'll be able to know more. I try not to, I never want to go back and say that I said something that's different. We think he'll be able to be in practice next week. How available he is, I don't know. Miranda, the MRI read clean, nothing ligament or anything like that. He's off crutches in a boot now. I think you guys may have seen that. So that's progress there as well. He hasn't practiced yet, but there's no more swelling in his foot. So hopefully he's back in practice next week, and we'll make an assessment as we get through practice next week.
Mike, when you guys were recruiting Mike Marsh, did you know he kind of had that underlying leadership, just like natural? He just had that natural leadership kind of trait to him.
Yeah. So Marsh, you guys may have reported on this already. Played for two guys that I knew really, really well. His head coach at Jacksonville, Jordan Mincy, actually lived with me when he was a grad assistant for us at South Carolina. And his assistant coach who recruited him actually played for me at South Carolina, Trevor DeLoach. So there was a lot of real insight into who he was as a person, not just a whole lot of guessing. They had coached him for 2 years. Trevor being from Columbia. Obviously, I know a lot of people also who were from Columbia from my time in the state. So I felt like I knew from a character standpoint what he was going to be about, and he's given us exactly what we thought.
When you bring in two guys like Eric Daly and Brandon Garrison, who clearly have all the talent in the world, is a guy like Mike Marsh just a necessity to have on the roster?
Yeah, I think so. And you look around college basketball, and again, I'm never going to use this as an excuse. We recruited them because we thought they're good enough to help us. We're one of the youngest teams, certainly in our league, maybe even around college basketball. I watch a lot of these tournaments, and I see guys who've been around for a long time. And so you need to have those guys, be able to learn on the job. You can't have them play through so many mistakes that you're losing all the time, but you need guys who can help them understand, for instance, late in the game, I thought Daly had an opportunity maybe to kick a ball out on an offensive rebound. In his mind, he's used to just going up and overpowering a 6'4" guy in high school. Well, in college, even against Houston Christian, the guy's 6'9", and if there's a shooter open, just throw the ball out. So there's some things like that Marsh can help him understand. With Garrison, it's the same thing. Practicing against him every day has helped Brandon's progress a great deal. And so, it's much veteran leadership and experience that you can have with some young guys. Give those guys an opportunity to grow a little bit faster.
Q'd put up one shot in the first half, but he had 5 rebounds, 5 assists. How good can this team be whenever he's doing dirty work like that?
Yeah, we need it. He's one of our guys in terms of having a defensive mindset that can really guard multiple positions, has value for things outside of scoring or having the basketball. And so when he's playing that way and stuffing the stat sheet, so to speak, he brings a different element to our team that we don't have in other areas. So I was proud of the way he played. I thought he didn't look down in terms of, hey, I'm going to pad my stats today and try to score 20. He just played the game the right way and made the right play most of the time.
You talked about defense on Monday. They had 37 points in the first half today, but it seemed like kind of settled in the second half. Just kind of what do you think about the defense today?
Yeah, I was concerned coming into the game. We're always honest with our guys about who we're playing. Not that we put anybody down, but we talked about this team plays really fast. They were coming in playing the 3rd fastest tempo in the country. And all of their games were being like in the 90s and 100s. And so with some young guys, right, they look up like, oh man, we're going to be able to play today. Like, we're not playing, we're here to win. So we're not going to trade baskets. We're going to score. We're going to be able to get opportunities, but we're going to defend. I thought in the first half we got caught up in the transition game and allowed them to get some easy baskets. And we talked about it at halftime, made a small adjustment. And I think our guys played with the right focus on the defensive end. We challenged more at the rim. We ran the shooters off the 3-point line. And if we didn't foul as much, they probably wouldn't have even scored as much as they did in the second half late in the game.
What was the adjustment?
Just being more conscious about keeping the ball out of the lane. I think we were a little bit more aggressive on the perimeter defensively, and really were able to disrupt their offensive rhythm.
Anything else?